Welcome to week 3. This week we're going to look at tools and structure of the trade. So if we look at the technical writer's toolbox, we'll find things for content development, such as word processing and desktop publishing software, portable document format, which is PDFs, graphic software for screen capturing, making drawings, graphics processing and editing, rich media for adding video and animation to our documents, web-based authoring tools for creating HTML files and web pages, websites, that kind of thing, tools for converting files, and then other tools that we might want to consider to put in our toolbox. So content development. When we talk about content development, we're talking about the written items that we're going to put into the document that we're creating. So we're going to use word processors. There's tons and tons of word processors out there. Obviously, the most popular is probably Microsoft Word, WordPerfect, which has been around for quite a while. Google Docs, which is an online document creator, OpenOffice, which is a free open source Office product. It has word processing, spreadsheets, pretty much everything you'll find in Microsoft Office products, but it's free to an extent. We're going to talk about, and you're going to read about, portable document format, which is the PDF. If you've ever messed with Adobe, you know Adobe is the creator of the portable document format, which is used to create documents that can be presented and exchanged independent of specific software, hardware, or operating systems. So a PDF is interesting because it can't be, well, it can be modified, but typically a PDF is a read-only document. Only the author has the access to go in and modify a PDF. And the cool thing about a PDF is once you create that PDF, it'll look the same no matter what system you're opening it on. So if you've got a Mac, you open a PDF, the format's going to be the same. If you're on a Windows machine, it's going to be the same. If you're on a Linux machine, it's going to be the same. So it doesn't matter. And the way it looks on the screen is the way it's going to print out of a printer. So that's what makes a PDF kind of unique. When you create the document in Word, you can save it as a PDF, so you don't have to have Adobe software. There are other software programs out there that create PDFs. Word has conveniently integrated the ability to save as a PDF. And then, like I said, it's kind of interesting and nice because once you create that PDF file, you can share it and pass it around, and the people that are reading it can't really easily edit it or make changes to it. And it's, again, going to look the same across all systems. So it's a very useful tool, especially when talking about creating technical documents that you're more than likely going to share out to the public and be accessible via the web or ever how people can access it. So graphics. Graphics are huge now in technical writing. When you think about the help documents and things that you've probably seen in the past, they're very graphic rich. You see a lot of pictures. With the technology becoming so prevalent now with pictures and video and audio, it's real easy to add these into our technical writing documents, much easier than it has been in the past, especially. So in our toolbox, we're going to need tools for editing the images, editing video, and editing audio, because as we get into our rich media formats and posting things on the web, you're going to need to be able to create dynamic videos and make audio rich files that can be uploaded and used on the web and in these documents. So I just mentioned rich media. Rich media is a term for content that includes advanced features like video and audio or other elements that encourage viewers to interact and engage. Rich media is it is the method today in which most content is shared. Rich media is written, it's video, it's got audio, it's got all kinds of interactive methods. So a lot of what you see online today is rich media. If you ever go to a website and it's got a banner ad on it that's movable, that's considered rich media. Web-based authoring is a tool that you will definitely, if you get into technical writing, you will definitely be exposed to. This is where you create your web-based content. It's getting easier. It used to be you had to be a programmer to create a website. You had to have some kind of knowledge of writing in HTML or some other web-based language to create websites. A lot of them now have become point and click, and a lot of templates available that you can really customize and create websites without really having a lot of development. You still need a pretty good eye for design, but the actual writing of code and things isn't quite as necessary now just to throw up some kind of a website with information on it. If you do get into developing and needing to create from scratch websites, Adobe Dreamweaver, Corel Website Creator, and HTML Kit are software applications that are used by developers to create full-blown programmed websites. But again, in that you're going to need some kind of development skills to be able to actually write the code. File conversion is the ability to convert one type of content file to another, and that's going to be very useful. So as you create documents, you want to be able to create one type of document and be able to use it across many platforms. Again, go back to Microsoft Word. You have the ability to create a Word document and save it as an HTML file to upload to a website. That's very helpful and useful, because again, you don't want to have to recreate content from one type of application to another. So you don't want to create a Word file, that's a huge directions for some product, and then turn around and have to rewrite all of that to be able to be used on the website. So you want to be able to convert files from one type to another. So a lot of applications have the conversion ability, and then there are also tools available out there that can take one type of file and create a different type of file. Another example would be some websites prefer a specific type of graphic file. So you may find yourself having a JPEG file, and the website that you're trying to use only wants to take a PNG file. So you can find tools out there that are readily available that will convert a JPEG to a PNG or some other way. Other tools that may be useful are compression software, WinZip, where you can take several files or a large file, and they compress them into smaller files for distribution and being able to share those. Communication software, your email clients, video calling like Skype, Zoom, those things that allow video calling, because you'll find yourself needing to gather information and share information. We'll talk about that in a minute. So those are other tools that will be a part of the technical writer's toolbox. File transfer software, to be able to, sometimes maybe a file is too big to email, you want to be able to upload it to Dropbox or somewhere like that to be able to share it with others, and they can just download it. Encryption software is used to keep information confidential. So there's lots of encryption tools out there now. So you say you're working on a secret project for a company that maybe has trade secrets or whatever, and You create this, you want to be able to encrypt it to send it to somebody else to look at, and they'll have to have keys and passwords to unencrypt it once they get it. But that'll be another useful tool that you may come across. So now let's talk about getting the information. Since the main purpose behind technical writing is to give people the information they need to use technology, how do we go about the task of getting the information that you need to create your documentation? So there's some types of information that can be gathered right from the beginning. There's already information available about a product, a software or hardware product, because it's been a part of a development project, or it may be a part of a development project. The developers already have created some kind of specifications for that product, and those specs can be used as a starting point for your technical writing process. They may include information that could be helpful in creating your outline. It'll tell you what the product's going to do at the end of the project, what its purpose is. So you'll be able to get some of that information. Now the drawback to using those early specs is that those may change over time. So, and you may not get a complete overview of exactly how the product works or what it's going to do, and that information can change from start to finish. So always be aware of that. You don't want to get too far into using a beginning spec only to realize that somewhere along the way they completely changed the product and everything you've documented is no longer useful. Prototypes and pre-release software, there's a little bit of a different. A prototype is typically a hardware, something that's tangible that they'll build a prototype which may or may not work. It's just a proof of concept type of thing. Pre-release software is an early version of the software. Now the difference in the two really, besides what they are, one of the differences is a lot of times pre-release software is very close to finished. So there's not going to be a whole lot of reprogramming and design change. So pre-release software can be very useful, whereas a prototype may not be quite as useful because it may not even work, and the actual product may be completely different from its original prototype. Just remember that either way, the final version's probably going to be a little different. So during your documentation process, you want to keep that in mind, to know that there will probably be changes in your documentation once the final product is ready. Legacy product documentation. This is really great if it's available. So maybe the documentation that you're writing is just for an update to a product. You can go back to the original documentation and just make some changes. Maybe a few changes, maybe some big changes, but you have the bulk of a document already created, and you're just going to be updating it and making it changes. So it's just a lot of editing rather than creating something from nothing. Other avenues for gathering information are through the actual developers and the subject matter experts, as well as through interviews with product users. Just keep in mind that a lot of times developers are very busy. They're not going to have a lot of time to sit down and talk, so be prepared to get the information that you need quickly and be thorough, so you don't have to keep coming back and back to bother the developer while they're trying to actually create the product. Subject matter experts can be kind of a misnomer. Maybe they're a subject matter expert, but they're not quite as expert on the exact product that is being developed or created. And then interviews with product users. Always keep in mind the perspective of the user. That's a good way to get information. So maybe you have someone who's doing a test of a product and you want to get their feedback on how their testing went. What were their pain points? What were things that they would like to see documentation on? That's always good to have. Just know that there's a multitude of ways to gather the information, and the trick is to getting the right information and developing it into usable content.